Hi, I'm Josh Miekley. My wife and our 3 children and I serve in Albania, and I'm here to talk about racial reconciliation for a few minutes and to share with you a little bit from some experiences we've had and how we've seen the Lord work in some really special ways. Okay, so when Craig asked me to do this for CMML, I was very interested. This is a complex topic, and I remembered about 10 years ago when I was speaking on this, I set up case studies and had all these things planned. It didn't go how I expected, and then I remember a friend of mine, Alvin, who's an African-American pastor, saying to me, "Josh, you gotta start out where there's common ground." So that's what we're doing today. I'd like to read a few verses from Matthew 22. Matthew 22, verses 37 to 39. Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself." So as you think about racial reconciliation, what does it look like for us to love our neighbor as ourselves, as Jesus commanded? Part of what I think it means is to listen well. I remember being gathered together with a group of people in a missions context with people from many different ethnicities, and sitting down listening to some of the deep pain that people who were from a different ethnic background than myself and the other person who was hosting the meeting, and hearing a lot of pain and struggle and anger, and we just listened. And people came at the end of the meeting weeks later, years later, and said that, hey, that meant a lot. That was very healing for us with what has happened. So we want to listen well. We also, to love others, want to be ready to acknowledge where we've gone wrong. I remember a friend of mine actually put some incredible effort and work into bringing people together. There were maybe 10 different assemblies represented, bringing people together. And an Italian man who was in his 70s came from Italy back to Albania, and I was at the meeting where he stood up and said, "We were wrong, and we ask for your forgiveness." And he spoke not for very long, and then repeated it again. We have often done wrong, and we ask for your forgiveness. So we want to be thoughtful, we want to be reflective about those areas, and when invited, when space is created, to be ready to acknowledge, here's how I have hurt you, and just leave it at that. And then finally, in the context of a world, Albania, where there are people of many different ethnicities, backgrounds, which brings so much complexity into this, we want to affirm the goodness of God in other people. I remember a student of mine telling about being in a series of prayer meetings during the war in Kosovo with people from Bosnia, with people from Serbia, with people from Albania and Kosovo, worshiping the Lord together and affirming the goodness of God in each other in spite of very deeply held beliefs that would drive them apart. So in closing, these are questions that I want to be reflecting on, and I invite you as you're there at your assembly or your home with your family to reflect on as well. How can we find ways to listen well to others that are different from us? Where are areas where we can acknowledge where we have done harm? And finally, how can we affirm the goodness of God in others?